الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين وبعد. Continuing in our series of the Nihayat al-Zalimin, the end of the oppressors, we come to Fir'aun. And Fir'aun, you know the story of Musa alayhi salam and Fir'aun. It's one of the most detailed stories in the Quran, and it's told in multiple places in the Quran. It's not just told in one spot, it's told in multiple places. And so you have to kind of piece the story together. So we're not going to focus on the story of Musa alayhi salam, just on the end of Fir'aun and some of the things that we can kind of extrapolate based on what Allah Azza wa Jalla has described happened to Fir'aun. But really understand the level of dhulm, the level of oppression that Fir'aun was responsible for. You see that the Prophet ﷺ referred to, was it Abu Jahl or Abu Jahl in his time, as Fir'aun هذه الأمة. Right? He referred to one of the people during his time as the Fir'aun of this time. And Fir'aun has become like this title that is used to describe extreme amounts of dhulm. Extreme amounts of dhulm. And our ulama continue to use that phrase today, right? Towards people that display the same qualities, that are slaughtering their people, that are, mercilessly behaving in this way, they are referred to as Fir'aun. So you look at, the history of the Zalimin, you have two people that really stand out that are used as examples for what other people are doing in this world. You have Shaitan, right? This person is a Shaitan, and then you have Fir'aun, right? You don't really have anyone else besides that. Even though you have Nimrud, it's not a common thing to refer to somebody as a Nimrud. But you have references to people like they are like Fir'aun, or they are the Fir'aun of this ummah, and so on and so forth. And so this is the magnitude of the dhulm of Fir'aun, and the crimes are just unimaginable. You know that he had a dream where he saw that a child being born in Misr, in Egypt, was going to dethrone him or take away his kingdom or whatever it was. A dream, right? SubhanAllah. Now, even just the fact that a dream could have multiple interpretations, a dream could have just been something that he saw or whatever it may be. But this person, because he saw a dream that his sovereignty was, his power was being taken away, he decided to kill the children of Bani Israel, right? So every time every other, son that was born or something, they would gather them and they would, newborn children would be hunted down and they would be slaughtered. And you cannot imagine, and this is why people that slaughter people to this degree where they're massacring even the children, have no mercy for even children, we refer to them as Fir'aun because of the magnitude of what they did. And Allah Azza wa Jalla describes Fir'aun, He says, إِنَّ فِرْعَوْنَ عَلَى فِي الْأَرْضِ وَجَعَلَ أَهْلَهَا شِيَعًا. That Fir'aun, he raised himself up in this earth, right? عَلَى فِي الْأَرْضِ, it has multiple meanings. He had authority, he had power which was given to him by Allah. As Musa alayhi salam even refers to, that you gave him this power, you gave him this kingdom. But he went above and beyond what you could possibly imagine, right? And he describes himself in some very, أَنَا رَبُّكُمُ الْأَعْلَى. He said, I am your Rabb, the Most High. I am your Rabb, meaning there's nobody else, there's no God, there's no sovereign besides me. So he really put himself up there. وَجَعَلَ أَهْلَهَا شِيَعًا. And with the people, he divided them up into groups. And he would also pit these groups against each other. This is one of the old shaitanic tactics as well. That when people have power, they want to maintain that power, what do? The people under them, they keep them fighting amongst themselves, so that they don't threaten the one that has the power, right? And then they're easy to get rid of whenever you want to get rid of them. يَسْتَضْعِفُ طَائِفَةً مِّنْهُمْ يُذَبِّحُ أَبْنَاءَهُم وَيَسْتَحْيِي نِسَاءَهُم. He was really going after Bani Israel, slaughtering their sons, leaving their daughters to survive. إِنَّهُ كَانَ مِنَ الْمُفْسِدِينَ. No doubt about it, he was from those that was causing immense corruption in the earth. And one of the downfall of Fir'aun, one of the punishments of Fir'aun is actually having to raise the child that was going to bring his downfall in his own house. Right? This is actually one of the punishments that Allah Azza wa Jal dealt to Fir'aun, because the pain of trying so hard to kill that child that's going to be responsible for it, and then when you realize I have raised him in my own house. I gave him shelter. I gave him food. One of the things he uses against Musa alayhi salam, right? Didn't we take care of you? We looked after you when you were young, and he tries to plead with him. How dare you come and challenge me on something like this? But this is one of the punishments that Allah Azza wa Jal shows, that for the dhalim, their end is very near. Their end is very close. And no matter what they do, right? And many people have to suffer, but no matter what they do, they're only increasing their own dhulm. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's plan is always going to play out no matter what. And this is one of the certainties we need to have whenever we see dhalimeen. You look at Fir'aun's rule. There were multiple Fir'aun. It wasn't just one person. It was like two people, that reigned with this title. But it was a long time, and it was incredibly brutal. But Allah Azza wa Jal brought him down anyways. And so any dhalim after Fir'aun is maybe not necessarily going to be as evil to the point exactly that as he was. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always has a plan for the dhalim. Always has a plan for the dhalim. And one of the things is that they establish their dhulm, and it's brutal, and it's painful, and it's hurtful to the people. But Allah's plan to bring them down will always, always, always be very near. And subhanAllah, it's one of the interesting things about the story of Fir'aun, that he raised a child in his own house. His own wife became a believer, right? She's quoted in the Quran, right? Islam, had permeated his own closest people. You had the issue of when they were figuring out what they want to do with Musa alayhi salam. One of the people from Fir'aun's court who had secretly become a Muslim, right, was trying to persuade him to not do anything to hurt these people. And what you learn from this story as well is that you have the dhalimeen of today as well, but you never know who closest to them might be actually against the dhulm that they're doing and trying their best to dissuade that person. But they're so scared of what's going to happen to them, they can't come publicly forward. There's so many things, even politically, you can derive from the story of Fir'aun that are lessons for the people that go through it. We never know sometimes who might be closest to these people and is still trying to dissuade them, right? And Allah Azza wa Jalla shows the wife, and who would have imagined the wife of Fir'aun, right? Living in the lap of luxury with the most powerful man, known on the face of the earth at that time, would turn everything against him to the point where she was tortured to death, subhanAllah. Where he tortured her to death, and we have her dua in the Quran, رَبِّ ابْنِ لِي عِنْدَكَ بَيْتًا فِي الْجَنَّةِ. Right? She said, Ya Allah, make for me a house with you in Jannah. Right? SubhanAllah, to go from that to all the way to being able to be tortured to death and still being able to call out to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. So you never know who closest amongst these people might turn away. You also see that Musa alayhi salam is told to go to Fir'aun and talk to him in a gentle manner. The masses of the people, sometimes we don't have the kind of patience that it takes to make these kinds of strides and these kinds of changes, right? So you see Musa alayhi salam, he goes to Fir'aun and he pleads with them, I can guide you to Allah, you might be fearful, and Allah tells him, قُولُوا لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا, speak to him in soft words, right? Maybe he'll change his ways. And so the dhalim is even given chances by Allah Azza wa Jalla to change. Because a person of power, if they become a person of Iman, can make a huge difference. And you see that in some of the cases at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, where some of the Sahaba who were waging war against Rasulullah ﷺ then became believers. And then their power really influenced the people as well. So with all of this, we know that Fir'aun is, he was given many of the signs where Allah Azza wa Jalla said the locusts and turned their water into blood and the frogs and attacked their harvest and their harvest and so on and so on. There were a lot of things that they were given. They pleaded to him for help and so on and so forth. But Allah Azza wa Jalla, at the end of it, He mentions that He drowned the people of Fir'aun, right? That He drowned the people of Fir'aun, that we took revenge against them. And we drowned them in the water. Now, one of the interesting punishments of Fir'aun is the drowning, right? He's drowned in the water, and he made a claim. He said, وَنَادَى فِرْعَوْنُ قَوْمِهِ قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ أَلَيْسَ لِي مُلْكُ مِصْرَ وَهَذِهِ الْأَنْهَارُ تَجْرِي مِنْ تَحْتِي أَفَلَا تُبْصِرُونَ. One of the things Fir'aun specifically said was, "Do you not see my people?" Meaning, Fir'aun talking to his people. "Do you not see that to me belongs this entire land of Misr? And all these rivers and these waters, they flow for me, right? They flow under my command. All these waters and these rivers, they flow under my command. Can you not see?" Because in Egypt you have the Nile, the Furat, you have the Nile, right? You have these beautiful rivers that are flowing. You have this luscious land. And he claimed that the rivers are under his command. The water is under his command. And so Allah Azza wa Jal, when Musa alayhi salam gets to the water and Fir'aun is coming behind him, and he says, and his people believe the water is under his command, right? And the water, they're stuck with the water, and he's gonna crush them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala parts the water, right? He parts the sea. Subhanallah. And imagine, the Fir'aun telling his people, these are under my command, and then the sea in in such a magnificent way literally opens up for the people that he's going after. And then when he has the galls to even go after Musa alayhi salam while he sees the miracle happening in front of him. And this is the blindness of the zalim, that they will not even see the most clearest of proofs, won't even see the most clearest of things. And his people follow him because they're so scared of him, right? Because they're so scared. They follow. Imagine if you saw that. If you're chasing after somebody and the ocean opens for them, I don't think you're going to follow them. You're going to stop, say, that's it. Khalas, that's enough, man. I'm not doing this. This is ridiculous. But he goes in and his people follow, his army follows him in. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala drowns them. Jibreel alayhi salam told the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Jibreel alayhi salam was also, just a friend of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And he said, if you could only see when I was there, when Fir'aun was drowning, and I took the dirt and I shoved it in his mouth so he couldn't speak. So he couldn't even, try to make tawbah and this and that by the command of Allah Azza wa Jal, right? He told, but Jibreel alayhi salam, he said, I was there and I was putting dirt in his mouth so that from the ground so that he wouldn't be able to speak. And Fir'aun tried to say at that point, okay, he tried to do the technicality of aqidah. Okay, now I'm going to repent because Allah will forgive if whatever. But Allah Azza wa Jal didn't let him do that. So he was drowned in the water the way that he said, I control the waters. Allah Azza wa Jal drowned him. And subhanAllah, you see the punishment again, al-jaza'u min jins al-amal. That the tongue, the actions of the zalim, when you see their end, you're going to see a relationship between how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroys them. And one more punishment that's mentioned for Fir'aun is that fire, النار يعرضون عليها, that fire will be brought upon him and his people in the morning and the evening. And in the dunya, this didn't happen. This is one of the evidences in the Quran for punishment of the grave. That Fir'aun was never punished by fire while he was alive. Right? But Allah Azza wa Jalla says that they are going to be punished by fire in the morning and the evening. And then on the day of resurrection, when they're brought back, they will be sent to a bigger punishment. Right? And so this fire is between this life and the next in their graves, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even in his grave, is going to be punishing him with fire. And that is one of he was humiliated, he was drowned, the angel came and didn't let him speak, and then he's going to be punished in his grave until the day of resurrection. On the day of resurrection, he's going to be sent to Jahannam, where he's going to be punished even worse. And this is, subhanAllah, you can imagine that there's no amount of justice that could be done in this dunya for a zalim to that degree. Right? If somebody takes a life, the justice is to either take their life or to pardon them, whatever, as Allah Azza wa Jalla has mentioned in the Quran. But for someone that has taken millions and millions of lives, how do you deal justice to such a person? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is where Allah Azza wa Jalla steps in and takes his own justice, and only on the day of resurrection or the day of judgment will their punishment actually match the crimes that they did, and where they'll be punished for eternal time. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us. But you look through the story of Fir'aun, you can look through it from multiple angles. And one of those angles is actually kind of a political analysis of what are things people can do when they have to engage with Allah? Right? What are things people can do? This is an interesting way to look at the story, but this is guidance that is in the Quran as well. And sometimes we see people that try to engage with people that we think are, what's the point? What's the point of even engaging with these people? But if there was anyone there was no point in engaging with, it was Fir'aun. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala still gave him that chance. So we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to produce amongst his leaders that can really bring about a difference and establish the hujjah, the proof against the zalimeen. Jazakumullah khair wa salamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.